I'm just going to stare at the screen until we get some people watching. This is how we do live podcast, people. I stare at the screen and we wait. Still staring. So I'm going to have to apologize to everyone because of last week. I had to cancel last week's live podcast because I was not feeling well. Oh, hello. I see you. Now people are starting to roll in. Like I was saying, I was apologizing for last week having to cancel the show. Hello, how are you? How are you doing? Hope you're Deanna good. Are you good? It's good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. But yeah, so I had to cancel last week because I was feeling miserable. Irene from Belgium. Hello. Thank you for being a repeat viewer. Greg, brother, the man. And so I'm gonna need you guys to bear with me again today because I guess I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but something has taken a hold of me. Jeanette, hello. Thank you for watching from Toronto. Hey, we're going international, everybody. This is kind of cool. Excuse me. I'm gonna try not to cough too much. I'll give you a little story. Katie, hi. Hey, how are you? So I was down at a secluded island, a barrier island off the coast of South Carolina this weekend. I don't know if the old little shack that I was staying in had mold or what, but so I've got this crud going on. Anyway, we have a wonderful show, but as always, before we start this show, where's my camera? There it is. We're gonna light the sage together, and we're gonna put out some good positive vibes. Last week was weird. It just seemed like something was off with the energy. So many people are having bad weeks, bad days. I don't know what it was. I felt it. I don't know if you guys felt it. So you know what? We're going to start this week off right. We're going to smudge for happiness and health. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about my guest. So as I promised, I wouldn't always do paranormal and ghosts. Well, I have one of the foremost experts on the hairy man, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, however you want to call him. His name is Carter Buschardt. He has let's see if we can do this. He has 2 books out regarding Sasquatch. Can we there we go. I haven't been able to finish them yet, just to be completely honest, but what I have read, and there's a couple pictures in here that I'll show, and I definitely want to talk to him about it. But I'll tell you what, the way he signed these books to me, the first one was Brandon, Welcome to My World. And the second one, it gets a little strange here. Boy, does it ever. I mean, wow. So, you know what? Let's just bring him on. Carl, bring up Carter. Hello, Carter. How are you, sir?
Whoa! Oh, you woke me up. I'm doing great.
Wake up.
I'm doing awesome. How's it going, Brandon?
Oh, not too bad. I know I might look like the hairy man, but I'm not, I promise.
Well, that's why I was attracted to you, because, you got the hair thing,
Yeah, I agree.
I don't. So I'm very envious. So anytime I can put myself in the company of hairy people, I'm happy.
Well, we'll get along just fine.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's start out with the basic podcast questions. Okay, the first one. What got you interested in specifically Sasquatch, or if you want to go into cryptid altogether, but specifically Sasquatch?
Well, at the age of 10, roughly, I saw In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy.
Yep.
My first brush with the Patty film. And I was going, I like that. I'm into that. At the age of 10, I just had a knowing that there was something other than what they were telling us and what they were showing us, about the planets and life on Earth. I just had this, oh, that's cool, that's cool. Oh, that's
Right.
bull. I just knew that, some of the things were wrong. I'm not, put myself up on a pedestal, but I just had a funny, weird feeling at the age of 10. And there's a whole long story behind that, which we don't have time for tonight, but uh, there's a reason, and I didn't find that out until 2006 through 2010 when I really discovered oh, oh, that's why I'm into this.
Right.
But so fast forward to I was about 30, went on vacation with my wife, 35, 40 maybe, I can't remember. I went to Washington State, and we rented a cabin in the middle of nowhere on the eastern side of the mountain range there.
Mhm.
And I'd heard about Sasquatch, of course. I was interested. I hope I see one and all that kind of stuff. And so I go on we just go on a hike, and I got to go relieve myself. I go to a tree, gonna take a leak, and there is an ammo box chained to the tree.
Okay.
I'm going, okay, I think I may have found somebody's drug stash or something. Because the year we went was the first year they had legalized pot in Washington State.
Right.
And so they were doing a big sweep in all the forests, trying to clean up all the illegal pot growers. So I thought, okay, I found some stash or something here. I'm in trouble. I'm looking around, but I finished my business, and I decided, what's in here, And so it was chained. And I thought, well, maybe it's booby trapped. So I'm left-handed, so I got a stick, and I tried to open it with my right hand. So I figured if
Right.
my hand gets blown off, I can still write with my left.
There you go.
But I opened the box, and inside it was a geocache. You know what that is?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd never been aware of it. I had no idea until I saw it. I went, oh, I've heard of this. And on top was a business card of a BFRO investigator from Washington State. I went, okay, I'm supposed to see this. So
Right.
I called the guy. You're supposed to take something. So I left $1 and took the card. And I called him when I got back home. I said, hey, I want to get into Sasquatch investigations. I don't know how to do it, but I'm fascinated. I got to do this. So he put me in touch with the guys here in Missouri. Went on a couple of expeditions. Long story short, I became an investigator rather quickly. I ended up taking that guy's job. They got rid of him, and I started running expeditions here in Missouri in 2012 or 13. And ever since then, here I am. That's kind of what got me here, and what got me on the paranormal aspect was the first expedition I led. I was looking through a thermal, looking for a group of mine that had gotten lost. So I wasn't recording because I was just looking for a signature.
Right.
And I see one coming around the corner. I'm going, okay, guys, they're here. Finally, we found them. It's just the Cliff Notes version, but it wasn't the lost expedition goers. It was the Sasquatch. And it took one step, two steps, and it just vanished. It was like a flash bulb went off, and that creature disappeared. And I was with the Dumb Ape crew. And at that time, I gave my notice. I said, I'm not hanging with you guys anymore because this takes me to another level, and,
Yeah.
Bless your hearts and all that kind of southern crap. But I said,
Yeah.
I can no longer go there because being in the Dumb Ape crowd, you can only answer so many questions.
Correct.
And I got taken to the dark side that day, and and here I am, 10 years later, it was crazy, but it happened so fast, and it was so definitive, and, I wasn't drunk. I wasn't on drugs. I'm leading an expedition, people paid money. My camera is a very nice FLIR. I had my gear is top notch. There was no flaw, no nothing. I saw what I saw. And so what do you do with that?
Exactly.
I was baptized. It was over. So that's what got me here, and here I am.
Well, and I being raised around the reservation and the stories that we grew up with. I'm Eastern Band of the Cherokee Nation, so I've always been in the it is an interdimensional or spiritual being
Yeah.
kind of team. Um,
Yeah.
so that's it's great that you um, told that story, because that just gives a little bit more validity to uh, the the people out there, especially us in the paranormal, that are trying to say, Bigfoot's not just on the cryptid side; he's kind of on our side too.
Yeah, he is. They are, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
they are. And there are so many things that I have seen and what I have not seen. I've made it my mission to talk to and reach out to people who have no voice. When they call, other podcasts and talk shows, radio shows, and they kind of get laughed at and scoffed at and blown off. Well, yeah, when you had me up until you said it disappeared into a tree, then lady, I'm sorry, but that stuff happens. And it's
right,
also possible, according to science, who is our bitter enemy in as far as admitting that they know more than they know. They just don't want to tell us. But quantum science, quantum math, mechanics, all that stuff is a legitimate possibility,
right,
by anybody in science. And so the only thing with quantum is that you have to disprove it using quantum mechanics and math and science. You can't just say, oh, we don't believe in that. You've got to disprove a proven theory, a proven possible theory, with more quantum activity. You can't just say, well, that's baloney.
right,
Changing vibrational frequencies, manipulating space and time, disappearing, infrasound, all of that stuff is possible. And I've experienced some of it myself firsthand, physically. And so you can't take that away from me, and you can't take it away from the people that experience it. That's their reality, and they have no voice, really.
right.
It's rare that they have a voice. So here I am talking to these people and putting them in books, and it's just bizarre. That the second book you mentioned, if you haven't finished it yet, you may call me and say, hey, are you sure?
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because but I've vetted. Have you started reading the guy from Canada yet?
I have not gotten to that one yet.
Okay, that'll probably change a few molecules in your central nervous system, because he went through some crazy stuff, and the thing about him is that, who Sibylla Irwin is?
I've heard the name.
She's an artist, and she does, she's like a police artist. If you've been a victim of a crime, you describe your attacker or
Right, yeah,
or whatever.
right.
And
Yep.
she draws the Sasquatch that you saw, and she puts them in books. She does a lot of my artwork, most of it. And she has a show now, which you might find interesting, called Sketching Encounters. It's on YouTube. And that's what she does, is talk to people, and then she draws what they saw and experienced, and they're pretty much dead on. Well, my guy has been on 2 of her shows, 2 1-hour shows. He's a recluse. He's been damaged,
Right,
emotionally and spiritually to a degree, because of the stuff he went through. He went through about 35, 40 years of this stuff with him and his dad, on and off for 30, 40 years. Almost like the Janice McCoy Carter over in Tennessee. She had 50 years of Bigfoot,
right.
Hers was almost day to day. His was, a few weeks here, be off for a couple, 2 or 3 months, and it happened again, then it happened again and again and again, then it'd take a break, and that kind of stuff. So anyway, he's an incredible story, and I've vetted him. I believe him 120%, because the things he told me, he told her, they're spot on. I mean, there's no variation. Hoaxers can't get their story straight. They'll tell you
Right.
the same subject matter, but the story won't be the same no matter how they tell it. It's just the way, and you can interview somebody, how, you can talk to somebody and interview them three different ways. Ask the same question 3 or 4 different times in different ways, and they won't even know it. And then you go, yeah, I think this guy's full of crap, but he ain't, So it's fascinating, and between the stuff I've experienced and the stuff these people are calling and telling me, which is just phenomenal. Star Trek. Oh my God. But that's what we need to hear. We need to hear the real stuff that's going on, not the road crossings, which are, if you've never seen a Sasquatch and across a highway in front of you, that's awesome, of course. But
Right.
we're getting into things that, why would the government not admit or discuss Sasquatch if it was just a dumb ape? Well, that's because it's not just a dumb ape, And they've lied to us about UFOs. UFOs don't exist. Oh wait, we lied. They do exist.
Right.
It's going to be the same with Sasquatch. When they just can't lie anymore. So that's my basic platform.
Right, and that leads me to a question that I've always had in my head, and I've always told myself if I get to talk to a Bigfoot expert, I'm going to ask. So I've always heard that the Air Force has had contact with Sasquatch for years, up in the Alaska area or somewhere up there, and have some sort of deal. Now, this is getting into conspiracy theory, but I kind of believe it, that that the government has a dealing with these beings. What is your thought process on that one?
Well, I know there's a lot of contact with them at the nuclear bases, not in Alaska, but the Dakotas, Montana, Wyoming, wherever the big arsenal is up there. They've had a lot of break-ins and sightings, and I don't dispute that. The thing that I have heard that gives that some credence is that Sasquatch, in some way, shape, or form, may be an experiment gone awry or still in progress where they're trying to develop a super soldier.
Mm-hmm.
I have no knowledge of that. I do have a couple of videos that would curl your toes, taken on military bases where they're running around. They've got them. They've got the video. It's clear as the bell. There's absolutely no mistake what you're seeing. So, and there's a military base down here, Knob Noster and Fort Leonard Wood, which is crawling with sightings. It's on thousands of acres down there, South Missouri. And I've had 3 reports just from that military base of Sasquatch sightings, all Class A, and all at night on night ops through thermal. But
Right.
It is when you see some of this, you go, oh, wow. Oh, yeah. That's why I got into this, because you get stuff like that, and you're going, okay, yeah.
Well, and I think I've seen a video. I think it was taken by lumberjacks. I believe it was in Canada, of this huge 20-foot tree getting thrown just 100 yards. I don't know if you've seen this video or you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, is that the one where it's on the left and it's almost like it's throwing a javelin?
Yes.
It's a logging crew. Yeah, I've seen that video. No one has found any flaws with that. Even Thinker Thunker did a pretty good breakdown of it. And the arm length, the strength, the size, the height, the displacement of area and trying to compare it to the trees.
Right.
It all match.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good stuff. They're here. I don't even need to question whether they're real or not. I want to know, and I hope to learn this, is what they are, who they are, and what they're doing here. I have my own belief systems and theories, that they're here to keep us from killing each other and destroying the planet. They're here to make the world a true one world place.
Right.
And, with all the disharmony in the world right now, if that's their purpose, among other things, good for them, hope they can pull it off. We got nuclear weapons. They don't. That's the only problem.
But I mean, do they have something more powerful that we don't know about?
Mastery of the earth
Mm-hmm.
is what they have. If you look at man, we are the least capable being on the planet as far as dealing with nature. Any bug can see better than we see at night.
Right.
We see shades of gray. Virtually all animals can see color at night. We see no, we're helpless. We got things doing things for us. Because we no longer are have the mental skills we had, like telepathy and levitation and things. If you go back to Atlantis, we have invented things to do everything for us: computers, cars, porta potties. We don't go in the woods unless we got somewhere to camp with a porta potty, and computers
Right.
do all our thinking for us. We have to have night vision camera because we can't see at night. We've progressed ourselves to a point where we think we're master of the world. We may control it because we got bigger bombs and bigger weapons, but we're not the master of the world. All the creatures living here that are using the talents and skills they were given at birth, that's been bred into them to survive. We are going, I'm going to invent something to do that for me. I don't want to go hunt a deer. I'm going to invent Walmart. We got a store. I can go buy all that stuff. I don't have.
Right.
I've lost touch with all my skills.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just babes. We're just babies.
Right. I agree.
And we're ripe for the picking.
I have an elder. He is from the Lakota tribe, and I want to get your opinion on this. He believes that the Sasquatch is not a left brain, right brain creature, and it doesn't have a split down the middle. It is a one brain, whole brain creature, which is why it can use more of his brain in a much quicker space to manipulate the environment. What are your thoughts on that one?
I can't even begin to argue with that. I mean, that just makes perfect sense, and they do have mastery of everything. We are helpless. Infrasound, they can paralyze us. They can make us see things that aren't there. They did that to me once, and I had my wife with me, and it was a perfect example of how inferior I was made to feel and look at that moment that this event was happening, and I took my wife with me to one of my research areas, and they had me all turned around. They had me hallucinating that my car was somewhere else entirely other than where I parked it. And my wife was sitting there going, "What are you talking about? Our car is up there by the gate where we parked." I'm going, no, I don't know how it happened, but our car is down at the bottom of this ravine.
Right.
How did we get there? I can't even drive there. I mean, and I was shining a light and I was showing her. I was seeing it. It was there. And she's going, "What the heck?"
Right.
And this happened 4 or 5 times. And then finally, I shined my light back up where the car should have been. And there it was. And I shined the light back down where I thought it was. And it was not there. And she's going, and she was creeped out the whole time. When my wife sees all the evidence and photos and things I get on my desk. And it was like one of those kind of, patronizing things. I'm glad you believe, honey. I'm glad you got your little hobby. I mean, she didn't say those words, but it was just kind of like, okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. I said, you don't believe in what I believe. I want to take, and she's an old Nebraska girl, so she has no problem with farm girl going out and roughing it in the woods and popping a squat and,
right.
catching something and cooking it. I mean, it's not that big a deal for her. So, but I took her there to show her something. And you know what happens when you say that? Nothing happens.
Exactly.
Whoa, okay, God, I'm embarrassed. But, but it did happen. And so, and it was I was seeing something that was absolutely not possible for me to see, yet I was seeing it, and I was very confused. And she got there, she was creeped out from the get-go. You know, when you go into a research area, you're you know the area, you know the beings that are there. They know me. I'm a regular there, so we have kind of a thing. I know, but you know, when I get there, I get that hair on the back of your neck.
Yep.
You're kind of creeped out. You know something's there. I'm going, okay, they're here. This is all right. This is cool. I know that feeling. I understand it, and I've moved past the creeped out point. You know, I know there's something there, and I'm on alert. But I know there's somebody there, and she got the same feeling, but she didn't know why she was getting that feeling, and she was creeped out, wanted to go back to the car, and that's what brought the car up. Was she wanted to go back. I said, no, we're just going right down to the ravine, because where I saw that Sasquatch disappear on my expedition, that area became one of my research areas because it was so active. And so right where I was going down to the bottom of this ravine was where I was hoping that these lost campers were going to come around the bend. If you go right around that bend, that's where I would have been standing with my thermal. So that's why I wanted to take her there, because it's been very active. And so she was creeped out the whole way. But the long story short, they manipulated me. I was a puppet. I had no control until they decided to turn it off. It was just incredible, you know. And so either if it was infrasound or some kind of mental telepathy or some kind of hypnosis where I was seeing my car where it obviously could not have been in a million years, was just incredible. It was just a great display. And she goes, okay, I'm on your side. Let's go home.
Right. So, yeah. I believe you. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, I wasn't putting on a show for her. I mean, I was looking like a fool. And she's going, what the hell are you talking about? There's no car there.
Right.
Well, yes, there is. You know, there is a car. My car's up there. It's down here. How to get there? So anyway, you know, so I've had you know, infrasound and or other control systems put on me to the point where I'm convinced. I mean, that I can't explain it, but I can tell you what it did to me, but I can't explain how it happened. But it doesn't matter how it happened. It happened, you know.
And now let's talk about vocalizations. I know in Kentucky, and I think Deanne said something about this, but you know, they're called the Yahoos because of vocalizations.
Yeah.
What do you think about their different? Are there different vocalizations? Do they even vocalize, or is this all mental? What do you think?
Oh, they have a language. You know, I've heard them. I've heard gibberish and chatter. You know, this other area I go to, which is southeast Missouri, near the Ellington Eminence area. I've heard chatter. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
You know, and I've used that chatter to get responses when I'm not getting responses by any other means. You know, I'm just sort of letting them know that, hey, well, I'm going to try this. And I do the Chinaman chatter. That's a language, whether you know it or not. I mean, that's not what I just did, but you know,
yeah,
they call it the Chinaman chatter for a reason. You know, Ron Moorhead in his group, you know, and he wrote, you know, intro to my first book, or not intro, commentary. So, you know, we're on the same page with, you know, the quantum methods that they appear to be using, you know, and it's just a manipulation of earth energies, you know, and I get visions in my head, you know, and I'm an old hippie and did a lot of drugs. It might be, but it's mostly because, you know, they're communicating with me, you know.
Right.
My wife and I meditate at night when we go to bed, because I'm a type A, so is she, and our minds, they're always going.
I'm the same way. I get it.
Yeah, you know, so we meditate, and after, on that second book, you have the green one there, After my trip to Illinois, with that log and those 5 rocks,
Uh-huh.
and the rock at the other end, since that trip, I have been getting visions in my head, communications, vocal and visual. And since 2019, when that happened, we've had more weird stuff going on in our house. I've made a list now. It's called Strange Things in Our Home. There's been so many weird things going on since I made contact. Some of it seems poltergeist or
Right.
impish, like juveniles are playing tricks or just jacking with me, playing with their little skill set. Let's
Right.
look at this human do weird stuff. I mean, we've had weird stuff happening to both of us together and separately. So, and but to answer your question, they do have a language. If you've ever listened to the Sierra sounds, you cannot possibly go, they don't have a language. You hear that. I don't know if you've listened to it, but it is Ron Moorhead's Sierra sounds. If you listen to those recordings, that is nothing but a language with however many they were surrounded by that night at the Sierra camp. That is nothing but a language. We don't know what it is, but it's a language. So yeah, they communicate. Stick structures, rock clacking, whoops, calls, all of that is communication. The stick structures are just fascinating to me because they're communicating with each other right in front of us, and we don't even know what it is.
And now, as far as like the stick structures, do you think that, okay, my opinion, and then I'll get yours, is that that is like a welcome sign to a jump off spot, like a quantum where it's weakest, where they can just jump from one place to another, kind of like a Stargate, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so what do you think that they represent, the stick?
Well, the stick structures, there are arches and there are stick structures. I define them as two different things, and the arches, I think they may be a portal. The structures, I think, are, this is my territory, humans over here, this is my nesting area, good hunting here, bad hunting here, good water over here. I think they're
Right.
communicating. This is my area, I'm here. I heard an interesting theory today that when you see sticks just kind of leaned against a tree, that means we're here, we're in the neighborhood. And then later that day, those sticks will be gone, means they're gone. It's as good a theory as any, but I think
Right.
the structures are telling a story. One of my areas has a teepee type structure, and that thing gets added to all the time. There's new sticks. Can't say that it's not humans going, oh, look, let's put another stick up here.
Right.
It didn't happen. The thing with structures, and that what tells me that they are not natural, all of them, is the species of tree used in the structure. If those fell into place, they don't fly 30 feet over and
Right.
land in a structure. You're looking for a maple, a river birch, an ash. If an elm, an oak, if those branches make up a structure, you got to look around and see where those similar trees, where they could have fallen from,
Right.
and formed a structure. If there's none of those trees up above, somebody made those. They didn't
Exactly.
and it takes opposable thumbs to do that. So you don't have but a couple of choices when you get to that. That's a good question from Kimmy. I'll answer that in a minute if she wants. So when and my theory is here's how to figure it out. You take 5 baseball bats, 5 chopsticks, you throw them in the air.
Right.
How many times do you have to do that for them to come down into an interwoven structure that's kind of complex. I call them complex. Anything more than 3 sticks, it's kind of complex when they're woven and stuff. You'll die before that happens. It just won't.
Exactly.
It just can't happen, you know. So then you have to look at, okay, did humans do this? Did they just pick up these sticks? Well, there's an ash tree over here, but it's 25 feet away, and there's 2 ash sticks here. It didn't break off the top of an ash tree, bounce off an oak tree or another tree, fall 30 feet away and fall into the street. It
didn't happen. Right. Exactly.
So they're intentionally made. And, you know, if you go back to what I believe is a symbiotic relationship they have with Native Americans for centuries, if not thousands of years.
Yes.
You know, they have a way of communicating, you know, and so I think they build those things. The teepee, although that's a natural tripod, you know, 3 sticks together will form a tent. You got, you know, but I mean, you know, they have a relationship and they have communication relationships, you know, and so
exactly.
I think they learned a lot of this from Native Americans where they were still communicating with them until us white men came along and screwed everything up, started butchering the Indians. And the Sasquatch said, well, screw this. We're going somewhere else. We're going deep in the woods. You're not going to find us. We're not putting up with this, you know. So, but, you know, the structures, they are communicating with one another. And, you know, the Native Americans, they don't have a written language, but they have, you know, all tribes have meanings of their drawings or glyphs that they make. And so I think the Sasquatch probably came up with some of those as a form of communication, you know, and I think some of those do mean some of those. You know, I've got a good buddy, you talk about your guy, I've got a good connection in the Caddo tribe in Oklahoma, Anadarko, down by the oil fields. And, you know, they don't like him talking about it, but he does because he wants to get this stuff out in the open, you know, and there's no written language. It's all handed down lore and stories from the elders. So, but it all matches. It's just, this is what happened and this is what drove us away. And that's, you know, why they no longer have the relationships they used to have with the Indians and the Sasquatch people, the forest people. So,
and well, before I ask that, let's get to Kim's question. Kim says, Carter, do you see fast moving, small, about 2 to 3 feet tall beings? Sometimes they move so fast they are a blur.
I have not seen one. My partner here has taken a picture of, he didn't take one. He was sent a picture by somebody who saw one. It's very similar to what you're talking about. It looked like a leprechaun without the outfit, is what he said. It had big ears coming up the side of its head, kind of a funky little hairdo, and it was running across the highway in Ellington, one of my research areas. And it said it was hauling ass. It was just flying, and nobody had ever seen it. Now the Sasquatch move that fast, also, but they can really only move that fast if they're on all fours, you know. But I have not personally seen it. I have a photo somewhere. I'd have to dig around for it, but it's not a great one. But he did manage to get his cell phone up and get a picture of this thing. It ran across the road. He was coming home from work about 3 a.m. He said he described it as a leprechaun without the clothes. Can't say, you know, there's little people, there's fairies. I mean, you cannot say that does not exist just because it's not in your field of believability, you know, because other people see it and experience it. And you can't say, well, you're full of crap. That can't be. Well, yes, it can. I saw it with my eyes. And that's why the big division, and it's I don't know about your branch of the paranormal that we're all working, but, you know, the Sasquatch community is horribly divided and hatefully so between the apers and the non-ape. You're full of hooey. That's no way. You're full of crap. Look at my stuff. It's much better. I'm not competing with you guys. We're all after the same answer to the same questions.
Right.
And if we're fighting and bickering amongst each other. Who's better? Who's smarter? Who's the expert? Who's not? Who cares about that? We're after a common goal is to learn what, I want to learn what these beings are, what they're doing here. I want to learn before I die in case there's no afterlife.
It's kind of the same. Ricky, that's my buddy. It's kind of the same in the paranormal world. It gets a little cutthroat, and your stuff's crap. Look at mine. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's the same here too. Well, let me ask you this: what do you know, or what have you heard about the ongoing battle between the Sasquatch and the Dogmen?
I've not heard of a battle. I am hearing more of coincidence, dual sightings. I took my first Dogman report, and I didn't even know it was a Dogman report in 2019 when I went to Illinois and led an expedition for BFRO, my last one. And since then, I've taken 2 other Dogman reports, and they were reported not during the Sasquatch sighting, but right after. So I don't know if they were together and he just didn't see them, or it just happened to be that, the one guy and his girlfriend saw a white Sasquatch. She got freaked and ran back to the car and left him behind. And
right.
He was kind of going, "Oh, that's pretty cool. I don't want to run necessarily. Okay, I'll go follow you." Because she was in the car and she was locked. She locked herself in the car. But right after she left, he saw a Dogman, and he described it beautifully. So I haven't heard of a battle, because my focus is on getting the stories that prove the Sasquatch have alternative powers. I'm trying to get that out so that people, they're not swept. That's where my focus is. I'm not looking for it. If I guarantee if I was actually looking for it, I might come up with some stuff, because I'm pretty good at digging around. But that's not my focus. I have heard it. With Lon Strickler, I'm part of his crew on Phantoms and Monsters.
Yep.
They hear that stuff all the time. Dogman and Mothman. They're hearing those battles, or about those battles, and see they're implying that they're fighting over dual territory. This is my area. No, it's my area.
Right.
They seem to be fighting over territory, and why there's so much activity in the Midwest, Illinois, Chicago with the Mothman. That's just for every 10 reports, 8.5 of them are out of Illinois, Chicago airport.
Right.
And I'm not sure why that is, unless there's just a cave system or a portal or something where they're coming and going with such frequency, because they seem to be everywhere.
Well, and we can't talk Sasquatch or Dogmen without talking about the land between the lakes. What are your thoughts? Why is it so prevalent right there at the land between the lakes?
I'm getting into the cave system theories or portals, that there are just areas where they happen to dump out. That may be why there's so many Mothman reports, in the Illinois area, especially at Chicago airports, for whatever reason. It's just crazy up there. But I think there are portals and ley lines and things of that nature that support paranormal activity, actually maybe create it. If you can slip dimensions, if the Mothman, Dogman, Sasquatch, Pale Whites, all of these can come and go at will, there's got to be a reason they do that, because they have the skill to manipulate their environment. We don't have that skill. So I think that is why, that's my personal belief, is that there is Land O'Lakes, the Midwest, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, actually Missouri too. I mean, there's 10 states that have more activity than probably all the rest put together, 10 or 12 states. So but there has to be something to that. If you go to the map of, 411, Paulides, when he's got his map of the cave systems, you do a overlay of Sasquatch sighting. You do an overlay of the cave systems and the missing. They're all tied in.
Right.
I mean, they're all on top of each other, and with very, very little deviation, there's a bunch of stuff going on there. Well, that's not a coincidence, you know. The Forestry Service, they know what's going on. They won't tell. They're not forthcoming at all, especially with the people missing, you know. And there's stuff going on, and we're just the dumb humans that get to sit around and watch it without knowing how it's happening or what's going on. Why is it going on?
Right.
I think we're in an age of knowing right now where all of this stuff is just flowing out at us, you know, faster than we can deal with it. And since here's my one thing about believing something, from the day you exit the birth canal, the day you're born till you're 20, you're educated, indoctrinated into the educational system. Ghosts don't exist. UFOs don't exist. Bigfoot don't exist. Oh, wait, we lied. UFOs do exist. Okay. So well, scratch that. We screwed up. We lied about that, but nothing else.
Right.
But you know what I mean? So
exactly.
when you see or experience something, your first inbred, you know, intuitive is, well, that can't be.
Yeah.
You may not even know why, you know, well, you know, it's not in the Bible, it's not in history, it's not anywhere in school. So that can't be what's going on. That has to be baloney. So you don't believe it. So immediately there's all this discord where people don't believe in this stuff because well, it can't be, because we're told it can't be. So that's what you're stuck with, is that conundrum. And then the people that finally go, you know, that doesn't make sense. I've got to look into that, you know, and they suddenly start going, you know, like yourself and myself, others, we're curious. We know something doesn't add up. And so we start looking at it, you know. And so that's why we're not getting anywhere, because we're taught how to think. And that's why I'm writing the books I'm writing, trying to get people to come out and say, if you don't have no one to talk to, call me, email me. I will talk to you. I will give you other options. And if we can't come up with an explanation, then you're on to something. You had an experience. But, you know, I'm not going to poo-poo on it. I want to try to explain it away. And if I can't, you had an experience. I don't not believe you, but you just got to cover all the bases to be honest with yourself. You know, I've tried a guy in a ghillie suit. I tried an escaped gorilla from the circus. I tried a deer standing on its legs eating fruit. I tried a bear walking on its hind. You know, none of that match. I go through all the scenarios just like I know you guys do.
Right.
Can't explain it. It's not something. That's just
exactly.
That's it. You know.
We got a couple of good questions here. Let's see. Kimberly said, so my ex-in-laws are several generation hunting outfitters in the Bighorns northern side, almost into Montana. And they swear by all the sightings, but also have seen a correlation of UFO sightings or strange lights too, and thought there might be a connection. What are your thoughts?
I believe that to be entirely possible. I don't know. In the second book you got there, I have a guy that had a Sasquatch sighting, 6 hours of missing time.
Yes.
6 hours. And, you know, the lady at the conference where you and I met.
Right.
She had an hour and a half, and she's a scientist. And her friend, like I told you, her friend's a scientist. And there's two women in the back seat. They're coming back from a conference, driving through Oklahoma. They saw a Sasquatch and was running along their car at 45 miles an hour. And they were keeping up with each other. Then they slowed down because they were freaking out. And then it ran across the highway. But they lost an hour and a half of time. They have no explanation. Two of these women are degreed scientists. The other two women in the backseat were just, they're in the science field, but not degreed. But you've got 4 skeptics that are baptized right there.
Right.
And they are no longer skeptics. So
now, do you think that they lost time because maybe the Sasquatch was trying to go interdimensional and somehow they got caught in some sort of weird warp.
Well, they could
Or
have. They did not. They pulled over to the side of the road and were talking about it. And they left at 8 o'clock, a little after 8, about 8:15 from this conference. I'm not sure where it was. It may have been somewhere in Oklahoma. They were just driving to the other side of Oklahoma. I'm not sure where it was. And they didn't, all their watches were in sync. The clock in the car was in sync, but they just, once they saw this thing, they pulled over and started talking. And the next thing they knew, it was almost 10 o'clock. And all they did was sit there for a while, decide to agree what they saw. Oh my God, okay, let's go home. And then they left. And it was a little after 10. And they'd only been driving 15 minutes. So they didn't mention any portal. And that could be one of those things where they didn't want to mention that because they would have thought I was
right.
They were crazy. Well,
Right.
You're already crazy because you're at this paranormal conference. So we're all good company.
Exactly.
We're all crazy. So come on, bring it. Tell me.
Exactly.
But it could have been. It could have been when it was at the side of the road and it saw their car and it stood up. It was what I thought they were talking about was it was leaning off the side of the road, eating some roadkill or something, which is a very common occurrence. But no, they just said it was just there, bent down, kneeling by the road. And when it saw their car, it got up and started running. And it picked a certain spot to run to.
Right.
When they slowed down their car, but it got to where River wanted to go and ran across. That could be, but they didn't mention any, flashing light or wavy, heat signature or anything weird going on in the area. They just realized they lost time. Now, my guy in that book, he lost 6 hours. Now, he was building a cabin, adding on to the cabin he had, and he had a attack trained German Shepherd with him. And the Sasquatch was walking right at them. I'm making a really condensed story here. I know we're getting close on time, but he saw this thing, and he and his attack trained shepherd, who would not do anything with attacking or checking out the Sasquatch, he just stood there. He didn't run, cower. He just was like in a trance. Him and his dog run into this travel trailer they kept on the property, was where he was staying while he was building onto his cabin because the electricity was on and off and all that. He realized, I didn't have my gun. Oh my God, I left my gun in the house. Oh crap.
Right.
So he found a butcher knife in the kitchen in the travel trailer. Him and this dog go barricade themselves, and he sees the Sasquatch walking toward him. And it's walking around the travel trailer. It slapped on the trailer a couple of times. It was a full moon out. He could see it walking around the trailer. He just knew it was going to come in and eat him, as was his logic. So he gets in and locks him and the dog in the bathroom in a travel trailer. If you know how big a bathroom is on a camping trailer, it ain't too big.
Right.
He's standing like this with this butcher knife pointed at the door. It's about 11:30 at night. He's just waiting for it to come crashing through. He's going to die trying to kill this thing or save his life. The dog is sitting right next to him. 5:30 in the morning, next thing he knows, it's 5:30. He's waking up. He's still like this.
Huh.
He's not tired. He's refreshed. It was not like he sat in that position for 6 hours. You know how you'd be if you were sitting like that. You'd be all tired. And, the dog was leaning against him. It was in a trance. I mean, it was not asleep because dogs don't sleep standing up, but it was just like leaning on him. And it was just like it snapped out. And and the only thing that woke him up was the workers showing up for work the next morning. And his wife showed up at 5:30 every morning to cook the guy's breakfast, because she was pregnant. So she was staying at the parents' house, I don't know how many miles away. So she showed up every morning to cook him breakfast. And so that's what woke him up. And he has no idea. And I suggested regression hypnosis if you wanted to find out what happened.
Right.
He doesn't want to know. He says, I have a boring life. He's a very successful businessman.
Right.
Very successful in New England states. He's got a very lucrative business. But he goes home to the woods every night, and that's how they get back to nature, you know. So he said, I don't want to know. I don't want to know that I had a Travis Walton-like event in my life. I don't want to know that.
Right.
I respect that, you know. I figure, you know, and I've emailed him a few times since. He doesn't respond. I know he just wants to be left alone. That's good. I respect that. I understand. You know, but at some point, because I've been regressed, and that's how I found out some things that made me quite aware of things when I was 10.
Right.
That's a whole nother story, whole nother. But anyway, he didn't want to know. But 6 hours. What do you? I mean,
What are you doing? You know? Yeah.
And he didn't see a UFO, but I have other people that have seen a UFO right before or right after a Sasquatch event. Not a lot, but a few, maybe a half a dozen or less. I've got a habituation family in South Missouri. They see the huge craft, 200 or 300 feet long, just slowly flying across their property, right above their roof. They're looking right at it. They sit on their front porch and communicate with the Sasquatch. I've done that with them. I've traded whoops and knocks with Sasquatch. It is bizarre to hear your exact whoop thrown right back at you. It's awesome, but it's bizarre.
That's got to be creepy. That's got to be creepy.
That's my voice. How did you do that? You sound terrible, man.
I'm losing the fight here.
Yeah. Well, we're going to 9, so we're good. I mean, we're
making it.
You just, what do you do with that stuff? You know, I hear this stuff all the time, and you hear bizarre stuff. So that's real. I mean, I know you draw some kooks as I do. You draw some hoaxers and fakers.
Right. Yep.
But I've got a way, and I know you do too, of weeding them out. Sometimes they're so bad, they're just like, buddy, quit trying. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Don't waste my time. You know, others are pretty good. But, you know, these people are real people, like everyday people. Right now, you, Brandon, you know somebody who is having or has had an event, and they're just not telling you because they don't want anybody to laugh at them. And it's the same with me.
Right.
Even if they know, you know, but right now I know somebody and they are having something. It may be a third or fourth generation person I know. I met through a friend of a friend, but you know what I mean? There's people daily having interactions, paranormal interactions that they cannot explain. And they just won't talk about it for fear of ridicule. And that's why we're here doing this show.
You know, the more knowledge that we can get out and the more comfortable that maybe we can make people to approach us.
Yeah.
The more stories we get and you know, the less crazy they feel.
Yeah. And you know, it may force, you know, the government, just like with the UFOs, when those tic tac videos got released.
Yep.
It's like, well, we can't BS anymore. Okay. So they threw us a bone and say, well, we didn't make them. We don't have the technology to do that, but we don't know where they came from. We'll get back to you. So they threw us a bone. They'll shut us up for 5 years.
Yep.
And we'll have that to chew on. It's going to be the same with Sasquatch. They're going to have to do something because they can't just keep throwing garbage at us.
Exactly.
They just can't. You know?
Well, if any of my viewers want to track you down or check out your work, where can they find you?
I live in a porta potty just south of Broadway here. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
No, you can email me at SQ, like Sasquatch, SQExplorer@gmail.com. If you want to find my books, you can go to www.relichominid.com, RELICHOMINID.com. I think I'm taking that site down the end of the year, but I have it till then, and then you can buy them directly. I sell all my books, my color books. I autograph them all, and I'm doing 2 for $35. But these are really nice. They're thick, heavy books. They're, full color. They're autographed, shiny, glossy paper. They're really nice book. It's not the black pulp, black and white, paperbacks, but there's nothing wrong with that. But these, I just prefer this method,
They are very nice books. I have them both, and I believe you said you're working on a third book.
Yeah, I'm working on a third book. It's going to be Sasquatch Evidence of an Enigma 3. And it is probably 85% paranormal quantum. I have some 2 habituation families in there. I have 2 updates of past stories, but the rest is all brand new stuff. It's incredible. And, I've vetted these people. They're honest, salt of the earth people, just like you and I. We get up, go do our job every day. We come home, feed the kids, do all our stuff. And every now and then we have an event we cannot explain, and we know we're not crazy. And that's why you're doing what you're doing. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing,
Well, I definitely want to take the time to thank you so much. I'm sure you're a busy man. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I couldn't have thought of a better person to break the Sasquatch lore in on my show than you.
I appreciate it.
Highly knowledgeable. And I'd love to have you on again sometime down the road.
$300 and I'm yours.
Hey, that's a whole lot better than the $1,200 you charged for this one.
Yeah. Well, I'm giving you a break. It's holidays, No,
yeah.
I don't get paid and they don't charge, so we know we're all kidding. But
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It'd be an honor to. I love having this conversation where it's just it's not censored or clipped. It's just it is what it is. Whatever comes out of my mouth is the real deal, same as you. And questions from the audience. I love that. I eat this stuff up. I love it.
Well, that's why I strive to always do my show live. Yeah. That way, whatever happens, you're going to get the real deal. And again, thank you for coming on. And if you could just hang out for a minute after we finish. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you guys so much. I apologize for the old voice. I'm losing this battle, but I'll be back next week. Next week, my guest is going to be Jeremy Leonard, the Cajun demonologist. I'm looking forward to that. And as always, as I end the show, remember, it's not about surviving the storm. It's how you dance in the rain. I love each and every one of you, and we will see you next week. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.